Hi, welcome to my channel English Audio Stories. Ready for today's English story? Let's go. Midnight at the Museum. Lily always loved stories about history and adventures. One Saturday afternoon, she and her friend Max visited the city museum. The building was tall, with wide stone steps and large glass doors. Inside, the air felt cool and calm. They walked slowly through the rooms, looking at paintings, statues, and old objects from different times. Max stopped in front of a display of ancient coins, while Lily admired a huge painting of a sailing ship on a stormy sea. As they reached the last hall, they noticed a colorful poster near the exit. It said, "Special event, midnight at the museum. Join us for a mysterious night full of history and secrets. Starts at 12 o'clock midnight." Lily's eyes grew wide. "This sounds amazing," she whispered. Max looked at the poster again and smiled. "Do you think it's real? What if the museum is open at night just for a few people?" They both felt a sudden curiosity. The idea of exploring the museum when the sun was down, with only the moonlight outside, made their hearts beat faster. On the way home, they talked about it again and again. They imagined walking through the quiet halls, discovering things that nobody else could see. That evening, Lily and Max made a decision. They would return to the museum at midnight. It felt a little risky, but also exciting. They packed small backpacks with a flashlight, water, and notebooks to write about their adventure. When the clock showed almost midnight, they met at the corner of the street. The city was quiet, and the museum stood in the distance, waiting for them like a giant mystery. The heavy doors of the museum opened with surprising ease. Lily and Max stepped inside and looked around carefully. The bright rooms from the afternoon were now dark and silent. Only a few lamps along the walls gave a soft, golden light. Their footsteps echoed on the polished floor, and every shadow seemed larger than before. They walked slowly past the first exhibits. The tall statues stood like quiet guards, their stone eyes following the children. Max whispered, "It feels like they are alive." Lily nodded, but she kept moving, her eyes full of wonder. The air smelled faintly of dust and old books. As they entered the main hall, they noticed how different everything looked at night. The glass cases shone under the dim lights, and the paintings seemed deeper, almost as if the people inside them were ready to step out. Lily paused in front of a display with medieval armor. The helmet reflected the light, making it look like someone was watching her. She shivered, but she couldn't look away. Max pointed toward the stairs. "Let's go up. Maybe we can see the whole museum from the balcony." They climbed quietly, holding the cold iron railing. From above, the museum looked endless, full of secrets hidden in every corner. For a moment, they stood still and listened. The silence was so strong that it felt alive. Then, from somewhere far down the hall, they saw a small light flicker. It wasn't a lamp. It looked like a lantern moving slowly in the distance. Max and Lily glanced at each other, both curious and uncertain. Without saying a word, they decided to follow it. Lily and Max moved carefully along the corridor, following the soft glow of the lantern. The museum felt endless, with long shadows stretching across the walls. As they reached the natural history section, the air grew cooler. A huge skeleton of a dinosaur stood in the center of the room, its bones shining faintly under the dim lights. Lily stared up at it and thought she saw its jaw move slightly, as if it wanted to breathe again. On the other side, Max stopped in front of a display of wild animals. Behind the glass, a lion seemed different than before. Its eyes glimmered in the dark, and for a moment, Max felt sure they were looking directly at him. He stepped back quickly, but the lion stayed still, silent and proud. They continued deeper into the hall, where old maps and globes filled the space. One globe began to spin slowly, though no one had touched it. Lily's hand shook, but she couldn't resist placing her fingers on the surface. The globe stopped suddenly, pointing to a country she had never noticed before. She whispered, "It's like the world is alive here." A sudden movement caught their attention. From the corner of the room, a tall figure in shining armor turned its head. The knight statue lifted its sword just a little, as if greeting the children. Lily gasped and Max pulled her back, but the knight remained in its place, silent again. The lantern glow appeared once more, further ahead, leading them toward another hall. Their fear mixed with excitement. Whatever waited for them, the museum was no longer just a building full of old things. It was awake, and they were part of its secret night. The children followed the flickering light until they reached a wide gallery filled with tall columns and marble floors. In the center stood a man holding the lantern. He wore an old-fashioned coat and a small round hat. His face looked kind, but his eyes shone with something mysterious. "Welcome," he said softly. His voice was calm, almost like a whisper in the air. "You are not the first to walk these halls at night, and you will not be the last." Lily and Max exchanged a quick look. Max stepped forward and asked, "Who are you? Are you the guard?" The man smiled. "Some call me a guard, some call me a guide. I protect the stories that live here when the world is asleep." He raised the lantern, and its light grew brighter, pushing away the shadows. As they walked together, he showed them exhibits that now seemed alive. In one room, a painting of explorers on a ship began to move. The waves crashed, and the sails filled with wind. In another hall, an ancient statue stretched its arms as if waking from a long sleep. The children watched in silence, amazed. "Every night," the guide explained, "history breathes again. The past is never gone. It waits for curious eyes to see it." They listened carefully, their fear fading into wonder. Lily whispered, "It feels like magic." The guide nodded gently. "It is magic, but also truth. These walls remember everything." At the end of the gallery, he pointed toward a tall wooden door. "Beyond this door lies the heart of the museum. Are you ready to see it?" Max and Lily looked at each other. Their answer was clear, they both nodded. The heavy wooden door creaked as the guide pushed it open. Behind it stretched a round hall filled with light, even though the night still ruled outside. At the center stood a glass dome, glowing softly like a giant crystal. Around it were objects from every corner of the museum: statues, books, paintings, and treasures, each one shining as if alive. "This is the heart," the guide said quietly. "Here, the stories of all times meet. The past and the present touch each other, if only for a few hours each night." Lily and Max stepped closer. As they looked into the glass dome, they saw images swirling inside: kings and queens, inventors and artists, animals running across ancient lands, ships crossing wild seas. It felt as if the whole world's memory was alive before their eyes. They wanted to stay forever, but the glow slowly began to fade. A thin line of golden light entered through the windows, the first sign of morning. The guide lowered his lantern and gave them a gentle smile. "It is time. When the sun rises, everything must return to silence." In the blink of an eye, the hall grew still. The paintings froze, the statues turned to stone, and the dome became nothing more than glass. The guide himself seemed to dissolve into the air, leaving only the faint smell of candle wax. Lily and Max found themselves standing alone. The museum looked exactly as it had during the day, quiet and ordinary. They walked outside into the cool morning air, the city waking around them. They promised never to tell anyone about the night, but deep inside, they knew the museum's secret would stay with them forever, like a treasure hidden in their hearts. Great job, you finished the story. Keep listening, keep learning, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.